Gabriel Facio with the Apache Junction police force. You can see as the hearse was leaving the cemetery and funeral home, and the massive show of support with police by the hundreds and hundreds, all part of the procession. Either there at this is the Memorial Cemetery out there along Main Street near Sossaman and Mesa. We saw those pictures coming in from Sky Fox at about 8 o'clock this morning. Gradually it works its way to Central Christian Church. And we do also have live pictures coming in now from there, where the memorial service itself is about to be getting underway. So let's listen in for just a moment here as the funeral service is just beginning. All of this after the officer was shot because of a report of a man armed with a gun. That man opened fire, and these are the images. Let's listen in. Now, I'll just mention that our coverage will continue uninterrupted at fox10phoenix.com. And as a matter of fact, we have been streaming that for you throughout the morning, this morning, starting out there in Mesa. And it was so touching and heartwarming to see people out there at the early hour as the hearse was making its way through the streets of Mesa. And a community, really the entire East Valley, stretching from Apache Junction through Mesa to where the church service is happening now. So again, fox10phoenix.com, that will be the place to go if you'd like to watch uninterrupted coverage of the funeral service itself. Another big story we're following this morning, there's just been a news conference wrapped up by the FBI in Minnesota after the shocking news of the political assassination this weekend in that area around the Twin Cities. They caught the gunman. Apparently, there was a very alert police officer out there in a small remote community about 30 miles southwest of Minneapolis, who spotted the abandoned vehicle of the gunman, who was on the loose, and then radioed in that he thought he might have seen him heading off into the woods. So they set up a huge cordoned off area and did manage to actually bring him into custody. And we do have some of what was being said, a lot of new information as the FBI just held this news conference. Here you go with that.
The video of his arrival and shooting of Senator Hoffman is truly chilling. Again, it's no exaggeration to say this is the stuff of nightmares. Will we see the death penalty? It's too early to tell. That is one of the options for several other charges, though. Well, it's pretty clear from the evidence that he's been planning these attacks for quite some time. With respect to the potential motive, let me say this. There's been a lot of press coverage and speculation and discussion of a manifesto. I've seen nothing like a Unabomber-style manifesto in his writings. He had many, many notebooks full of plans, lists of names, surveillance, efforts that he took to surveil and locate the home addresses and family members' relationships with these elected officials. But I have not seen anything involving some sort of political screed or manifesto that would clearly identify what motivated him. Obviously, his primary motive was to go out and murder people. Now, they were all elected officials. They were all Democrats. Beyond that, I think it's just way too speculative for anyone that's reviewed these materials to know and to say what was motivating him in terms of ideology or specific issues.
And here you see the video now of the suspected gunman. The whole story we all woke up on Saturday morning with just the shock of the news of the assassination. And the 57-year-old is accused of killing a state member of the House there, Melissa Hortman, and her husband at their home in Brooklyn Park. And then Vance Belter, according to police, also wounded a state senator, John Hoffman, and his wife a few miles away, and reportedly had some 45 other political targets in that shooting. But they called it the most massive manhunt in the state of Minnesota's history. And there's so much more to learn there, but at least they have made the capture and the arrest, and we'll follow that story as it comes along. Syleste joins us well. Syleste, I got a text. My daughter, lives in Salt Lake City, and she and her husband had family members who were out at this protest this last weekend in downtown Salt Lake City.
Okay.
And there were reports of gunfire. And, this is a community that I think for the most part, it's become a big city as well. But you just don't think of it in the same category as some of these other cities where there were, I think, greater worries of violence. Mm-hmm. And yet Salt Lake City was where a deadly shooting happened. Oh. A gunman opened fire, and we are going to check in with Fox 13 Spencer Joseph. And let's get to him right now. Spencer, do I understand it right? Were you actually out there for the protest to cover it for the station over the weekend? Okay, I think I've got Spencer here on our Zoom. Hang on just one sec. We're going to make sure we've got our call all set and ready to go. So here's what we know about this so far. And Spencer, hi, it's Ron Hoon down in Phoenix with Fox 10 Talks. Will you just give me a thumbs up when and if you can hear me? And we will just proceed with the Zoom call. But Syleste,
yes,
we heard the word that there was a gunman with an AR-15 type rifle who showed up at this protest. It was kind of almost sort of a parade, kind of a protest there in downtown Salt Lake City. Hi, Spencer. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, absolutely. I can.
Can you give us a little bit of background? Were you actually out there at the protest march on Saturday?
Yeah, I was. I started with them at a local park called Pioneer Park, one of the bigger parks in downtown Salt Lake. They marched about a mile to our federal building, which is right in the heart of downtown, and then kind of continued on past the federal building for maybe a few, I would say maybe half a mile or so. And that's where, right next to the federal building, is where the shooting took place. We were actually right around the corner from that shooting, where the suspect with this rifle was actually taken into custody. We were feet away from where that happened. And as the shooting kind of rung out, the ripple effect of everyone kind of pushing into every direction, pushed a lot of the protesters you're showing right now from the moments where it was a happy, joyful event to this situation where they were running for cover. Police and some of the protest organizers were saying, get into any open buildings, anywhere you can, and seek shelter. Was really kind of how everything was unfolding. And then we were kind of watching those people seek shelter when somebody held up a backpack and ran towards police and said, "This is the rifle."
Wow.
And police ran up to the individual that had that backpack and took them into custody, and that actually was the suspect that was carrying that rifle that ultimately in one person being killed, although that person never fired shots. It actually was peacekeepers with the protest that fired 3 shots, one of them striking the suspect and hitting them in the side, one missing, and then a third one striking and killing an innocent bystander.
My goodness.
Wow.
That is, protests like this, it's a First Amendment right. I think we've had protests around the country many times over many different, topics. What are your thoughts on how violence has kind of taken over some of these protests around the country, and they're in Salt Lake City?
Yeah, and one thing I want to say about Salt Lake City is right from the get-go, I mean, people were passing out flowers to police officers that were keeping them safe. Salt Lake Police estimated about 10,000 people leaving the park. I would say several thousand more joined in for the march. So I would say maybe closer to 15,000 people were kind of in this very confined space in downtown Salt Lake. It was incredibly peaceful. In fact, joyous, you see in some of the video you're showing, they had a marching band. There you go. Where they were playing some tunes. This was not a protest that none of the individuals that were involved in this protest, there was no violence at all.
Right.
And someone brings this AR-15 style rifle to the protest, and then the peacekeepers, according to probable cause statements, instructed them to drop the weapon. And that's where, when they were asked to drop the weapon, the probable cause statement, they took off running towards the crowd and raised the rifle. And that's where those peacekeepers fired those 3 shots.
All right. So with some of these developments, I'm just going to make a quick call here. Spencer, if you don't mind, we would like to hold you over the commercial break. Do you have about 5 more minutes for us?
Absolutely.
Because it sounds like there's a lot to sort through,
Yeah.
including, some of the original reporting
So
versus
true.
what we have now been able to kind of hone in on. We will take a break. By the way, here is our mystery cam for everybody, and we'll be right back. Okay, one last look at the mystery cam, and we will take your guesses in on a really kind of a picture-perfect little town somewhere in America, coming up here in about 2 or 3 minutes with your guesses. But we are going to continue our chat now with Fox 13's reporter Spencer Joseph. So Spencer, can you please recap for us? You had a man with a gun, an AR-15 style rifle. Private security was hired to protect the parade. They saw him, is that correct? And then they engaged, and they were the ones that fired the shots?
Yeah, so they're referred to as peacekeepers, and they were a part of the protest group. So the role that the peacekeepers, it's what a lot of people in Salt Lake City are actually kind of questioning right now, and it's something we're actually working at Fox 13 to try and, kind of make sure that we clarify exactly what were the roles of these peacekeepers. But to kind of, as we've been learning, is these peacekeepers were there just as volunteers, as a part of the organizing group of the protest itself.
Okay.
That then when they saw this person with the AR-15 style rifle, and according to police in that probable cause statement, he started running towards the crowd or either raised his rifle. They instructed him to drop it, and when he didn't, they fired 3 shots. One of those shots was the shot that hit and killed that innocent bystander.
So the peacekeepers, they're part of the protest group, as you mentioned. Do we know if they're specially trained or like retired officers or anything like that, or retired security?
That is a really good question. That is something that actually a big question that we're trying to answer here in Salt Lake today, and get more clarification. We have several reporters actually, including myself, making a lot of calls on that to try and determine. It's a big question.
It is.
It's really the question we kind of all want to know right now.
And has Mayor Mendenhall spoken out about this, or the police chief? Did they either of them, for example, have knowledge that they were going to have these armed peacekeepers on scene?
So the police chief and Mayor Mendenhall, so Police Chief Red and Mayor Mendenhall, both spoke not only that night, but have spoken in subsequent days. I believe that question was asked of the police chief yesterday, and they said, they were aware of these peacekeepers, but they are investigating to exactly what extent they knew their training, if they were armed. That's under investigation by
That's
police.
our Spencer Joseph with Fox 13 doing a great job. We hope maybe we can check in with you here in the coming days. Really a heartbreaking story out of the beautiful city of Salt Lake.
Yeah.
Spencer, thank you.
Thank you.
In the meantime, Celeste, let's real quick get to our mystery cam, and then we got a packed show. What are you seeing?
Well, we have a lot of great guesses out there. Do you want to go to it, Ron? And do you want to give a quick guess as well? So let me give you some of the ideas coming from folks. Wahoo, Nebraska, says Susan Anthony.
Oh, wow.
I wonder if she knows exactly where this is. Mayberry, North Carolina, ! Ocean Girl 505.
Yeah.
We've got a couple of Virginias from Here's Johnny and Angela Bronkelman. And we've had a few Carolinas in there. South Carolina from B. Miguel. What do you think, Ron?
I'm not going to go Nebraska. I like the fact that she's very specific.
Wahoo, in fact.
Wahoo. But I think I'm going to go maybe somewhere like in Indiana. How about you, Celeste?
That's a great guess.
What do you
I'm
got?
going to go North Carolina.
Okay, here we go.
Oh, Jasper, Alabama.
Oh, is that right? Okay, looks like a pleasant town, that's for sure.
We see you, Jasper.
Hey, here's Doug Luzader's report now on this growing conflict between Israel and Iran, and then we've got a special guest coming up right after that I think will help us all understand a little bit more about what's going on in this. Frankly, it's become a war. And first, though, let's check in with Fox's Doug Luzader.
Ron, good morning. The U.S. is still standing shoulder to shoulder with Israel, but there have clearly been some difficult discussions behind the scenes. More Iranian missiles pound targets in Israel. The attacks appear to be aimed at civilian areas, all part of Iran's response to last week's Israeli strikes designed to destroy Iran's nuclear program. Even U.S. embassy offices in Tel Aviv were damaged and will remain closed today. President Trump arrived in Canada last night for a G7 summit where traditional economic issues are giving way to concern over the latest Middle East strife. And the president has said repeatedly that Iran needs to come back to the negotiating table.
Have you asked Israel to pause their airstrikes into Iran?
Well, I don't want to say that.
But we have learned that the president privately told Israel to scrap plans to assassinate Iran's supreme leader. In an interview last night, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu would not discuss it.
Actually, there's so many false reports of conversations that never happened, and I'm not going to get into that.
And while Israel may have stopped short of that goal for now, it could still be in the cards.
The principal objectives are, one, to take down the nuclear enterprise and also the ballistic missile enterprise. But certainly Prime Minister Netanyahu would take the byproduct of that, and that is regime change.
And Netanyahu also says that Iran, through proxies, has been behind 2 assassination attempts on President Trump. Ron.
Well, Doug, the Iron Dome is working, but not like we've seen it before. Have you seen any reports as to why some of these missiles are actually hitting their targets inside Tel Aviv? What's different this time around? I'm wondering if it's just the clusters that they're firing all at once, or what's going on?
Yeah, the air defense systems can be overwhelmed, and it's clear that Iran is trying to do that, firing as many as they can, but not really designed to protect from ballistic missiles. And that's what we're seeing Iran really firing very quickly at Israel.
Yeah, and in such large numbers, too. You just wonder how many of those they even have left. Okay, Doug, thank you. And we are going to advance the story for you now. We have Professor Tamran Talatov, Chair of Persian and Iranian Studies, there from the University of Arizona, joining us. Professor, thanks for spending some time with us here on Fox 10 Talks. It's Ron Hoon and Syleste Rodriguez. Israel is now claiming that it has achieved full control in the skies over Tehran, in fact, over much of Iran itself. What's going on inside that country? If that's possible, how could that have happened? Is the long-feared Iranian military not what it was cracked up to be, or more like a shell of its former self? What are you hearing?
Well, thank you for having me. This report is correct, actually, based on my observations and following the news coming out of that country. In fact, as usual, Iranian peoples also cope with tough times by humor. And the humor is that all international flights from all countries are canceled over the Iranian space except the Israelis. And that means that Israelis airplanes have no barrier to fly anywhere they want to go over that country. However, I have to add that thus far, based on my information, based on my observation, Israel has been primarily targeting the military and nuclear sites and some of the other spots that have provided logistic support for military operations, as opposed to the Iranian missiles that are being launched into residential areas in Israel.
Now, does it surprise you? There's a report this morning that the majority of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, their Air Force leadership, was wiped out by an Israeli military strike, and that they were in a meeting in an underground bunker. So a couple of questions. Does it surprise you that Israel was able to locate them and take them out? I mean, that would back up the theory they have full control of the skies. And the fact that they could target a bunker that's underground, it makes you think that maybe in terms of what they're trying to do with their nuclear program underground might be vulnerable to attack.
No, it's not. It didn't surprise me. I've been aware of Israelis' military capabilities and incredible operations when they decide to go forward. What amazes me is that the Islamic regime in that country, in Iran, was not aware of this. You know, everybody warned them. President Trump gave them 60 days to come up with a solution, to accept this proposal on table, and then they went on and on as usual, thinking that, okay, they might buy times. And everybody knew that it was going to be inevitable. Now, they have had some accomplishments, Israeli militaries, that there's been also beyond my imagination as well. It's going to be in the history books about wars that in the first few hours of this conflict, they were able to wipe out all the military leaders of the Guardian troops, which is usually designed to suppress the dissent, the Iranian peoples, out of the picture.
Professor, I think that a lot of people here in America, the Middle East seems so far from where we are, of course, and I think sometimes it gets a little convoluted and we wonder, what is all of this about? If you could give us, and I know this is a lot to fit into like 30 seconds or a minute, but why all of the fighting between these two countries? We know it's gone back many, many decades.
Briefly, at the heart of this conflict is not a dispute about peoples, between peoples, but the Islamic Republic regime-driven ideology. The Islamic Republic has, for over 4 decades, since its inception, positioned itself as the primary engine of anti-Israeli sentiment in the region, not to serve Iranian people, but to expand its revolutionary agenda. This isn't about borders or historic grievances and the cause of the Palestinians. It's about exporting an ideology that thrives on hostility.
All right, Professor, thank you so much for your time. We have one quick question from our viewers in our chat box. Here's Johnny. Here's his question for you. Do you think there is a chance for peace in this situation?
We have about 30 seconds left.
I hope for the end of conflict. No one enjoys seeing buildings destructed, innocent people killed in this conflict. But so far, I have not seen any signs of the desire for peace from the side of the Iranian regimes, nor from the side of Israelis. I think they're determined to finish this job as they did in other proxy cases. The only person who has called for peace is President Trump, but that has gone nowhere as well because the Iranians missed the opportunities.
All right, everybody, welcome back. Let me put up the poll question right now. President Trump talking about plans to ramp up deportations in Democrat-run cities. What do you think about this right now? And you can grab that QR code. 90% of you saying, look, I'm backing all of his plans when it comes to deportations. Obviously, that would include this one.
Right.
10% are saying, don't politicize deportations. Treat all cities equally. And by the way, you guys in the booth are going to have to let me know if we have our YouTube poll up or not. I'm just looking for a source on it right now. But your third option is these deportations have gone too far. Stop them all. Just grab that QR code. Let us know.
We have a good number of votes on
that.
our YouTube poll as well, Ron. I'm just taking a glance at it. 484 people have voted on our YouTube poll.
Are you kidding me, Celeste?
Trump plans to ramp up deportations in Democrat-run cities.
We just launched that at 9:45.
Yeah,
That's a huge response.
484.
Let's go to Dave right now on the Dave Cam. Good morning, my friend. What are you seeing in terms of responses here? Boy, that's an overwhelming response on the YouTube part of the poll. Can't hear you yet.
But you look like $1 million.
You
We
look
added
like
some,
$1
we added some new
million.
lighting on the Dave Cam.
I was going to ask him. Still waiting to testing.
And you know what? Green is your color.
Oh, we'll pull that up in about 5 seconds. I was going to ask him if that was a new shirt that he got for Father's Day.
Oh,
And
it is.
You can give us a thumbs up or a thumbs down. Was that a Father's Day gift, Dave? Yeah. No, I know.
Yeah, you can hear me?
Yes,
got
we
you.
gotcha.
What do you got, buddy? Is that a
Yes,
Father's
we've
Day
got
gift or
great
not?
Comments here. Ocean Girl 505 says, no matter one's political leanings, we are all safer with illegals off the streets who have committed violent crimes. Jazzy Girl 8983 says Trump is a moderate and his deportation plans are the most peaceful solution possible to untold millions of people forcing themselves on our communities without the consent of the American people. And last but not least, Jonathan 7555 D8B says sanctuary cities are acting illegally. They should be charged for aiding criminals. So a lot of really interesting comments here today. Keep the comments coming. Keep the conversation going, guys.
That is the always.
Doesn't he look fresh? He looks like freshly washed, freshly,
freshly scrubbed. Celeste,
Like
you're sounding like his mom. I'll
got
just,
some-
I'll just tell you.
Yeah, like, good Father's Day celebration for Big D.
Yeah,
You
gosh.
know, like, rested.
Well, anyway, we'll check in
Big
on the
D.
poll question one last time. Oh, those numbers are moving around. 11% now say stop all deportations. They've gone too far. 16% don't politicize them. All cities equal. 73% I support the president in all of his deportation plans. Now, if you weren't with us earlier on our morning show, with the whole reason we created Fox 10 Talks is just to continue, in a way more conversational style, the big stories of the morning. And we're just heartbroken here at Fox 10 to hear about our buddy Tim Hattrick from 102.5 KNIX, who had the Father's Day surprise of all time, and not in a good way. Tim,
Yep.
your house caught fire?
Yeah. Yep. And right now, I'm coming to you from the garage of my once perfect house that is now charred remains. And I can tell you, unlike Dave in the Dave Cam, I am not fresh. I am not fresh at all. I smell like a campfire.
Yeah.
But I got home from up north. I was there celebrating Father's Day with my kids. And just as I pulled up, the garage door went up. Smoke started to billow out from underneath the garage door. And it took me like a full 2 or 3 seconds before I could reckon with what I was seeing. It was like, that kind of looks like my garage is on fire. I thought it was the garage. The garage was full of smoke. What was on fire, and I think you can probably see the door to my kitchen right behind me. I could see hard, outer edge and some flame behind. And, you ever hear about people panicking and you think, well, come on, I'd be cool and calm. I sat there for 2 seconds and went, oh my gosh, what is the number to 911 again?
Yeah. Well, I think sometimes,
sure enough,
Tim,
I figured it out.
Did
3
you
minutes
have...
later, the fire department showed up.
You said when we were chatting earlier this morning that the fires through the kitchen. Is there anything salvageable? Did you have photos or, mementos or anything of say, historical significance that you're able to save?
That's a great question. And, I have begun a project to all of our pictures where we were like the last people who took actual photos and got them printed. And I have all these family photos that are in actual cartons here in the garage that I've been going through and archiving, digitizing and saving. Now, those are on hard drives that were in the house. So I hope that they're okay. I think they will be. But all of the actual photos that haven't been archived are here in the garage. and the garage was completely untouched. One of the things the fire guys told me was that, these doors from an outer structure like a garage into the home have to be to code that is fire safe to prevent this very thing from happening. There was no damage in my garage, but the kitchen is totally charred, and the smoke from that fire permeated the rest of the house. And I don't know much about how these work. This house will live for several weeks, if not months.
Do they have an idea, Tim, of, was it the refrigerator that caught fire? I mean, was it something in the kitchen that started this?
Yes. Yes, it was a small appliance. It's actually like, we think there's it's a small vacuum that sets on the floor, and it's very convenient. You can sweep things from the kitchen floor, and when the broom gets close enough to this little device, it turns on the vacuum and vacuums it up. Actually, my daughter's a hairstylist, and they often use these in hair salons when they're sweeping up the hair that's been cut and on the floor. And the Phoenix fire inspector determined that was the cause of the fire.
Oh, wow.
And then it ran right up into the cupboards, and I don't know the timing of it, but it seemed like it happened shortly before I pulled in, and who knows if I'd have come any later, really how much more damage there would have been.
So it was one of those like robotic vacuums that cruised through, your house.
Yeah. Well, and Brooke on our show asked me, well, should I unplug appliances now when I leave the home? And I was like, well, I think you should. I would, because I don't think the refrigerators, modern refrigerators have this kind of a problem as much, but you never know. A 10 or 15-year-old appliance, a little toaster oven, whatever, I'll be very much more careful about those things. But yeah, you can see the dishwasher right there, and just below that on the corner of that cupboard was where this little vacuum device sat, and they determined that's what sparked the fire.
Well, as we wrap up with you, Tim, one of the things, Celeste, I know about Tim, if there's anybody on the planet who can deal with a little bit of bad news with a little bit of humor, it's probably Tim. Tim, did you find, was there one line that came to you or one moment where you said, yeah, go ahead.
Everybody who pulled up, Ron, thank you. I said, welcome to my Father's Day barbecue. I hope you like it. Very well done. And I want to say the fire inspector came over to me, and he said to me, hey, Willie, I hope I get secret show tickets. Now,
my gosh.
People still love Tim and Willie.
In Tucson and listened to the Tim and Willie show down on KRQ where we started.
I have to tell you, in our chat box on YouTube right now, somebody said, hey, Tim, where's Willie?
Yeah, right. Yeah. Where is Willie? He was supposed to bring the bucket brigade down from Tucson.
Yeah, he was. All right. Well, we're sending our prayers your way, buddy, and hope you get the home
Phoenix fire,
rebuilt.
and just everybody's okay. Nobody got hurt, and I'm just grateful for that. So I appreciate it, you guys.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Prayers to you. Thank you, Tim.
Thank you, buddy.
All right.
See Celeste. Gosh.
What a story.
I knew he would have a funny welcome to my Father's Day barbecue. Speaking of Father's Day, what did you guys do yesterday?
We just had a bunch of the dads over to our house, and we barbecued.
Yes.
So if you follow along on Instagram, on social media, I was up early yesterday morning just because we're early risers by nature of, the gig.
Correct.
Right? So maybe you and the chat box are at home. What time do you wake up normally? Like a 6:30? Sleeping for me, it was 5:30 yesterday.
Right. Yeah.
About 5:30.
Yeah.
So I stepped outside and I had some coffee with the hummingbirds and Gracie, our dog, and then I made some ribs.
By the way, speaking of Dad, there's Gary right now with your beautiful family, Celeste. So you made ribs.
Yeah, made ribs.
And then kind of marinated them throughout the day?
On the grill yesterday morning when I was on the patio, for about 3 minutes each side, 3 or 4 minutes, I threw them on the grill, and then I put them in the crock pot because we had church. But after Tim's situation, it makes you think, should you be leaving things plugged in at home?
Well, thank goodness everything worked out okay.
Thank goodness.
Yeah.
But super grateful for my amazing husband and my father.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I think we had somebody in studio last week, and they talked about how important dads are.
Yeah.
To society in general and to families, and My kids will listen to me, but there's only so much they'll follow. They won't follow all my directions.
Right,
Got to get Dad involved.
Correct. Well, I did a post on Instagram, and I said, just grateful for the roles that we men get to fulfill in our lives.
Get to is the word you use there.
Yes, of course.
Yeah.
As father and grandfather. And let me see if I can pull up this. There it is right there. Okay, so the kids, Renee came up with this idea. She's like, write down what you think of when you think of Pop Pop. And you see, popcorn, loves football, old, thank you. Let's see, what else? Diabetes. I talk about the fact I'm diabetic. He likes watching old stuff from history.
Aww.
Loves us, money. They all think I'm rich.
You're
anyway,
not? I thought you were too, Ron.
Right. That looks like buys us frogs, but it says buys us toys.
Aww. It's funny. I'm glad that, Renee did that. It's like you don't know what people think about you or of you until you actually ask them and they put it down on paper or something.
Right.
Now that everybody thinks you're rich. No wonder they ask you for dinner all the time.
Yeah, I know.
Pop, when we going to dinner?
But I have to say, the highlight, Renee got this game, I think it's called Pie Face or Pie in the Face.
Yes.
And you just click this little machine and you don't know if or when you're going to get whipped cream in the face, but ready? Oh, I'm going to tell you guys there's sound on this tape. So, Bri, if you want to ride the sound a little bit, I'm just going to roll it. Here's my son, Jordan, and things didn't work out very well for him. Ready? Here we go. Oh, wait, hold on. Hold on.
We're bringing it. Hold steady.
Okay.
By the way, Ron, in the chat box, as you're finding that, folks get up at 4 a.m. Christine Carroll says she's up at 4. God bless you. Mr. Palvaline says 5:30 a.m. The dogs shake him to wake him to go outside.
Yeah.
So,
Okay. Oh, we don't have that VO. Is it a SOT, perhaps? Okay. We may have that after the break.
Louis Gonzalez says, my grandchildren call me Tata. That's what I called my grandfather, too. Tata.
Oh, is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Tata and Nana.
Let's see. Yeah, we're up against a break, so we will see if we can find that.
Yes. By the way, what did you have to eat on Father's Day, Ron? What was your meal?
Chicken piccata.
Oh, yes. You were telling me. Okay. For all of you who are chiming in.
Celeste, 5 seconds.
Oh, we'll talk about it later.
Okay. Back after this. All right. What's that, Celeste?
Is it really take your cat to work day?
It's take your cat to work day,
my
to
gosh.
which I ask why.
Do you have to bring the litter box? You know what I
yeah,
mean?
you better.
You better bring the litter box.
Better bring the litter box.
I threw it in there. By the way, so many people are chiming in with what their grandchildren call them. Mr. Pavoline said, kids call me Paul Peters, my whole name.
Okay.
And Linda Monter says, I am Grana. Grana, I believe it's Grana.
Yeah.
And Wisdom Intensity says they get up at 3:30 in the morning.
Wisdom. Hey, Wisdom's one of our new commentators. And
Good morning, Wisdom.
I totally slid off my mark. Let me just
Yeah,
bring it
Grana
over here.
is so sweet, Louis Gonzalez.
Okay, I'm told we have found the tape, so I'm just going to let you roll it, Brian. Again, it's a game called Pie Face. And you click the machine, you spin a Wheel of Fortune thing, it tells you how many clicks, and this is what happened.
1, 2.
That is so cute.
We can You'll see it again. Ready? Here we go now. Here we go. Oh, maybe we don't have
You
it
know
on
what?
loop.
I got to tell you, that whipped cream is delicious.
Can you guys punch it up one more time?
here it is.
Here we go.
1, 2.
I told Jordan when he gave me the okay to play it today here on the streaming show, I said, you're going to go viral.
That's so great. Ron, isn't how many grandchildren do you have
We
now?
have 8.
So I remember when you had your first.
Oh, yeah, Mason.
And yeah, Mace.
Sure.
By the way, Mace is like a Wordle wizard.
Correct. Got it in 3
He
today.
got
Got
it.
yesterday's in 2.
Holy smokes.
Yeah.
What a blessing. You hear all that laughing and everything in the background. How great is that?
Yeah, it was so fun.
I mean, I'm sure the parents, spoken from experience, you're like, oh, brother, I'm sending you to Nana's house or Thatha's house. But, just to have just a big family and all the kids, it's great.
Sure. It was really wonderful.
Yeah, so
okay,
awesome.
so Celeste, as we move on, and thanks again to my son Jordan for agreeing to let me play that part of it. Like I said,
Oh, you
you'll
actually
go
asked him
viral.
permission.
Oh, you better believe it. We have the very first flight ever to a new nation from the United States. A commercial plane.
Oh,
like
wow.
a 737 or an Airbus
Like
full
with
of people.
peanuts and juice and the whole thing they serve you.
And ladies and gentlemen, we are talking about this place right here, the peanuts, the juice, and let's go to Greenland. The first flight just arrived this weekend from Newark right into the capital city of Nuuk on Saturday, and they charge what basically would be for an international flight, even though it's not all the way to Europe or Asia, that kind of thing, $1,200.
Okay.
But hey, for a trip once in a lifetime, if you've ever wanted to see the remote island of Greenland, now you can.
Wow.
And so it's one of a few international destinations United decided to try flying to, including Mongolia, Senegal, and Portugal. Celeste, is there any place on the planet that isn't like a big city, but is some island or some remote, mountain or just little village or some country that you have always said, I think I'd kind of like to go there?
I think maybe, I've always asked you, I'm like, Ron, tell me what are some of the Balkan cities?
Yes.
I think maybe like Montenegro or something.
I know. It sounds so luxurious.
It
But I
does.
don't think it is luxurious. But yeah, you're right. You have all those Balkan states.
Yeah.
Albania. You
What
have
else?
Serbia. You have, I think Slovenia is in that category.
Yeah, that was one of the reason I asked Ron this was because I am like a 0.5% Balkan.
Yes.
So
we keep thinking you're going to bring in some Balkan treats, but so far, no. Now,
I'd have
maybe
to
this
do-
year for Christmas.
What are Balkan treats, Ron?
I don't know.
Like baklava or something?
Maybe.
I don't know. You never know.
You're sort of there between like Italy and Greece.
Correct.
Baklava, we know that comes from the Greeks.
Which is delicious.
Celeste, will you commit to bringing in baklava to celebrate a Balkan Christmas
Yeah,
this year?
I'll do that in December. And then the next year I'll bring in my tamales to celebrate a Mexican Christmas.
I think I would like to go to the tiny little country of Bhutan.
Where's that?
Well, it's right on the southern edge of China before you get into India. It's way up high in the Himalaya mountains. And I read a book about the happiest countries on earth.
Oh, it's
And
happiest?
Yeah. And this is, it's called The Geography of Bliss. And I loved reading about it because all these places that are super happy. And I think the reason that Bhutan was
I'm looking it up right now. Okay.
It was basically isolated from the rest of the world.
Oh my
We're
gosh.
screwing up the world, and they're living in a mountain paradise up there in Bhutan.
You know what another happy place is? Finland.
Oh, yeah.
For the 8th consecutive year, Finland has been named the happiest country in the world according to the World Happiness Report.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Wow. Okay, let's go to Finland.
Let's
Maybe
go
it's all
check
the
that
fish.
out.
All the fish they eat.
Yes.
All the omega-3s, Ron.
Okay, good. Omega-3s are the source of happiness.
be.
You know, the other thing that I think makes a lot of people happy is going to Costco. But
Yes,
Celeste,
that is true.
I'm just trying to segue. But they are rolling out a new concept for the first time ever. Let me just punch this video up right here. You can now go to a Costco, or soon you'll be able to go to a Costco gas station without having to park in a gigantic parking lot and go to the Costco store, because there is no store.
That's crazy.
It's just going to be a Costco gas station, and it's going to be in Mission Viejo, which is already pretty crowded. I can't think of a lot of spare land they have there to build a Costco, but they got enough room for a gas station. They're going to have it up and running here in just a little while, and they're going to have 40 pumps. I don't know if they'll have a little convenience store or if it's just like kind of what they have now at these other Costcos, but somehow they always figure out how to get gas prices like 10 cents,
Oh my
15
gosh.
cents cheaper than everywhere else.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's a great deal.
Yeah.
And if you're driving, like, let's say from here to California, look for a Costco, and that's where you gas up.
Oh, yes?
In California.
Okay.
Yeah, when I've done road trips to
when
Cali.
you're leaving there and coming back here.
Yes.
Otherwise, you wait till you get to Blythe, you cross the river. Is that a Flying J or a Love's?
I think there's one of each
Okay.
on the on the Arizona side of the border.
I swear our gas prices are like 50 cents a gallon less
Yeah, so
than
if,
Cali.
and so if you even more in some cases.
Okay.
So if you can wait, you hit Blythe and you can wait another
Yes.
like 15
Right.
minutes.
Yeah,
Boom.
if that, right? You're on
Yeah.
fumes. You're crossing the little stream they call the Colorado River, which they need to call it the Colorado Creek.
Oh
at
yeah,
that point,
yeah.
it's so
Honey, get ready to push the car because we're not
right.
grabbing gas in Cali.
Oh gosh! But the question, of course, is, if you worked at Costco, everybody I know who works at Costco, they seem to love their job.
And I hear they have great benefits.
I've heard that too. But this one guy, kind of a kid, he's young 20s. Let's see, 21 years old.
Yes.
He posted on Reddit he was ready to quit just hours into his very first shift. He was working a Friday, might have been last Friday, because he just posted about it, from 11 a.m. to 7:30 p.m., so a regular 8-hour day with, sounds like a half-hour break for lunch.
No smoke breaks?
I don't think so. They're clean, healthy living people over there at Costco.
Angela Brockelman said it's a Flying J, Ron, by the way.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Okay, Angela, thank you. But what about, so this guy, I keep wanting to call him a kid, but whatever, who knows? Maybe it was first job. He said he felt like a zoo animal. He went onto Reddit to complain about it. He was being watched so closely by the customers. He said it was great in the morning, but then it got worse and worse all day.
Oh, my gosh.
And by worse, you know what I think he means? Busier.
Yeah, you got to work.
Well, that's the idea if you have a business.
Well, and that's the idea if you have a J-O-B. You work, and then you make a living, and you're able to pay your bills.
Correct.
I bet he gets good food, though.
Yeah.
I bet he gets, maybe it's like his discount's like 50% off the hot dog and the Coke combo.
Meaning you get it for 75 cents
Yes,
instead?
even better.
Right? Have you ever tried the chicken bake? I don't even think about it, but it's popular. You just mentioned my grandson, Mason.
Yeah,
He loves the chicken bake.
Maybe that is the key to the Wordle wizard, is the
Oh,
chicken
yeah.
bake.
Fuel up on chicken bake to boost your Wordle game like my grandson, Mason. But, I feel like they're pretty friendly at the Costco food court.
I do too.
But it is very crowded because people have their gigantic carts I feel like
Yeah.
maybe if they carved out a little bit more space.
I do feel like there are times where I've ordered a pizza and I'm just standing there staring at them. So I apologize.
Okay, so maybe
That's
the kid.
because I'm slightly salivating.
Maybe he has a point. Is that what you're saying?
I'm thinking maybe.
Yeah.
But that is a job.
Well, by the way, eventually he stuck it out, and then the next day he said things were going a little better. So
Okay, good.
anyway, hey, before you know it, Ty and Anita. Oh wait, Ty's on vacay. It's going to be the Anita show today, which, you know, Anita's got a big fan base. You're going to love the Anita show. But just real quick, we salute all grandmas out there who, you know, over time,
Hi,
grandmas
grandmas.
have developed a reputation for their own favorite hobbies.
Yes.
And this is being adopted by the new generation. For example, crocheting, scrapbooking, and reading real books
Yeah.
are now more popular than ever with the new generation.
I think this is so great. What a great, you know, I was chatting with somebody, I think I was at Hobby Lobby, and there's young girls looking through the yarn aisle.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, you know, what are you guys making? Are you guys making a, you know, blanket or a scarf? And they're younger girls working on different types of projects, you know, and things like that. And they said it's actually quite freeing of the mind. Like you get to focus, right?
Yeah. We used to do what we called finger knitting. So we would take the yarn and wrap it around our fingers. And I couldn't even tell you what we made out of them, but they were just like these long little like yarn ropes. But we would sit for hours doing that. And then we also used to make photo albums. So we would take photo albums and we would cover them. You needed a hot glue gun, which
with
out.
fabric and
yes,
yeah.
right. And we loved, and we would give them as gifts. Everybody had a photo album.
Yeah, and I think like those. I remember my grandmother. You know those little needle stitching.
Yeah,
it had like it had like
where
the
you're spelling
frame.
words out.
Yeah, or had the frame around it, the wooden frame. Ron, does that ring a bell at all? Ron's
Oh
like,
yes,
no.
oh yes. Well, I still have the blanket my grandma crocheted for me like 50 years ago.
Wow.
And I mean, she was quite the artist. I just I love.
How does
having
Renee
it
feel
close
about
by.
that being on the bed?
Well, it's actually more on the couch. But believe me, I wouldn't make a move when it comes to interior design unless I run it by the missus.
Renee is in charge.
Hey,
Renee's amazing.
We got about
She's
20
good.
seconds left. What's coming
We're
up?
talking Monsoon. We're talking Missing Hiker. And then we have a really fun influencer on and talking a little bit about the foodie scene here in Arizona because it's big.
That's coming up next on YouTube. Ladies and gentlemen, it's the Anita Show.
Have a great day.
This.
It's Monday. Ty's on vacation, so the girls are gabbing on this Monday. Very exciting. We have Crystal, we have Nicole, and you guys actually both cover the monsoon. So we're going to start with that because the monsoon, and welcome into everyone at home. I'm just now trying to log on, so hopefully everyone's watching. We'd love to hear from you, especially about these big storms. Monsoon officially started, Crystal, our resident meteorologist, yesterday.
Yes, so the monsoon season begins now on a specific date, which is June 15th, and it goes until September 30th. So yesterday was the start on Father's Day.
Okay, so you said now officially begins. This is something new then.
I'm trying to remember how long ago it was. It was a few years back now that they decided to streamline it because the monsoon doesn't only impact, say, like Phoenix or Tucson. It impacts New Mexico. It impacts West Texas. So to streamline the fact that everyone kind of feels the impacts of the monsoon maybe starting at different times, but all the impacts are the same, right? The dust storms, the severe thunderstorms, the heavy rain and flooding. So they decided to, instead of using the old conventional, which in our area was a dew point of 55 3 consecutive days, which is a measurement of moisture, they moved to June 15th for everybody.
So this kind of, I
National
think,
Weather Service
maybe gives
day.
people that, I guess, mental awareness. Hey, it's here.
It's time.
The flooding can start. The storms can start.
The hope was to get everyone aware of the risks involved with the monsoon before they happen, instead of everyone just being obsessed with when have we had 3 consecutive days of dew points at 55. Although, to be fair, the old school, like the purists, the people that grew up in the valley, like we kind of still want to know when is the dew point at 55 or not. So I still like to show it off on air.
Okay, let's chat with Nicole really quick. I know you've got some good graphics for us, but you've been out there covering the monsoon.
Yeah.
Last year was your first year.
Yeah, so tomorrow will actually be the 1-year anniversary of me starting work
Oh,
here.
congratulations.
Which is exciting. Just a side note there. And I mean, I came here from Indiana, the Midwest, so I was used to tornadoes, I was used to rain, but I wasn't used to the monsoon. And I know, correct me if I'm wrong, but last year wasn't maybe as...
It was
it
pretty,
was a little
pretty
tame,
non-Sunny.
maybe.
Yeah, pretty
Non-Sunny.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but we did go out. I saw my first dust storm. I saw my first haboob. I saw, some of that rain that's coming down for about 20 minutes really hard and then moves right out. So being out in the field and covering it is really pretty exciting because it's kind of like all happening at once. And then after it passes, it's just like it never happened.
I completely agree. I love covering weather, and I love covering the monsoons. Now, you want everyone to stay safe,
Of course.
because we can see the flooding and the canals, and this is, some of what it looks like. But it's such a change of pace for us here in the valley.
Yeah, absolutely, especially because they come in so rip-roaring and then they move out, like you said, so quickly as well.
And do you enjoy, I feel like sometimes other times of the year you're covering sunny days. It's beautiful. But do you get really excited when it gets to be monsoon season in terms of forecasting?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, of course, there's always, especially because we cover such a large part of Arizona, there's always something interesting going on around the state.
Of course.
But definitely the monsoon is a more challenging component to forecast. In fact, so I used to live out in Philadelphia.
Okay.
And people always ask, it was probably so much harder to forecast out in the East Coast because there's so much more weather. And while it is true that there's more active weather out in the East Coast, and in the mid-Atlantic states, I find that forecasting for the monsoon is one of the hardest things to do because of the fact that we're under a pattern that once it sets up, almost every day there is the potential to tap into that moisture and provide us with storms, but it's not going to happen every day.
It doesn't always happen.
Yes, and that frustrates people too sometimes. It's like, oh, well, you've got
all this
a 10 or a 20%
right.
chance 5 days straight. Which day is it going to be? And it's like, well, we have to look at it's almost like baking a cake. Like all the ingredients are there. It's like, did someone stir it enough?
It has to be that perfect storm, I guess you can say.
Yeah.
You've got some graphics that you set up for us.
Sure.
Let's go through those. I think that they're going to roll them for us in the back. There we go.
Do we have them up? There it
I
is.
think
Okay,
we
so
go.
this
Here we
map
go.
that we're
Come
looking
on
at
over,
right
Dave.
now this is called the monsoonal pattern that we watch for when we get to that point in the year. So there's a couple components that we watch. First component that we watch is something called a thermal low developing. A thermal low develops kind of like off the Baja area. It develops as a result of the fact that as we get into our summer heating months, land heats up faster than water does. So you get this disparity in temperature, and it creates this little area of low pressure. That low pressure center, winds wrap around it counterclockwise, which starts to suck up moisture from the Gulf there up and towards Arizona. That's more low level moisture, but for us to get like a good strong thunderstorm, we also need upper level moisture. That develops with our monsoon high. So the monsoon high is something we start watching about this time of year. Usually it starts in parts of Mexico, wobbles around Texas. It can't really figure out its footing until usually about July. And then we want it to set up for us for a good monsoon around the Four Corners region, because it's going to drag in that upper level moisture again from the Gulf, and we get this kind of combo that provides us with ample supply for us to tap into, kind of turn on the hose and get some good storms with it.
You said good monsoon. Michael Lewis is asking, question, how much rain should we be getting during a monsoon season? He said, it came to AZ 2 years ago, and I have been disappointed by the lack of rain. And Linda is saying the last 2 years we had a non-soon. Yeah, so how much rain should we typically get?
Yeah, so a couple of inches. I think 2 and almost a quarter is normal for the valley during the monsoon. It might be a little more. I'm trying to remember exactly.
This is during
because it's about half of what is average for us. Our average annual in the valley is about 7.5 inches. So we get usually during a good average season. Now the last 2 seasons have been weak. We had under an inch last year. The previous
for the whole
year,
season,
for the whole monsoon. Yes, for
which is a crazy stat.
Yeah, for Phoenix. And well, the previous year it was I'm trying to remember these numbers off the top of my head, and I don't have the exacts, but it was a little over 10th, and that was the driest monsoon we'd ever had. Now the first year I was here, or the first summer that I was here working here, I grew up here, but working here was 3 years ago, and that was a good monsoon. Much of the valley got several strong storms. There's also some cadence with saying good monsoon too, because usually a good monsoon means that there ends up being quite a bit of damage.
It's interesting how many of the comments people are saying, I was disappointed. and I think that that's a big thing, because we all really love to see the activity and the change. I know you watch because I'm in studio with you. Yeah. And I know you're watching and you're communicating with our reporters who are out in the field. I've been the reporter out in the field where you're communicating with the meteorologist. It's hard to get ahead of a storm like this, to get that video, to get that live shot.
Yeah, and it's really great that here at our station we do a lot of driving shots, because that's really what you have to do, because you have to be driving around. You could be in the West Valley, you see the front coming through, but then it's like, okay, wait, no, there's more action happening here. So really being able to kind of drive around and track it is the best way to do it until you've got that damage. But as you mentioned, and you as well, the damage, we had that really sad story where that building collapsed last year, and that poor young man, new father, passed away. So it's like, it is kind of hard to say, okay, we've got a good monsoon season, but like you said, sometimes that comes with things that are unsafe for people. So it's that happy medium. But we also want it to probably rain because it's been so dry. Like, I mean,
we could always use the rain. You know, we need the moisture, and when we do have a weak monsoon, it unfortunately usually ends up with us having a below average precip year because we didn't get that big boom over summer.
Jesse is asking, what's our record rainfall for a monsoon season?
Oh man, you guys are hitting me with a tough question. Off the top of my head, I do not have the answer to, but
roughly.
Oh, I'm going to try to look real quick. You guys keep talking. I'm going to try to look that up because I know where to get the answer.
Okay. We're going to talk about another story that you have been covering, and we are talking about a missing hiker.
Yeah.
And this is her picture.
Yeah, Janelle Bonda. She is a 32-year-old. She was an ASU grad. Family here in Arizona. That's the area that she was camping up by Edge of the World. In between Sedona and Flagstaff is how her family described it to me. It's a gorgeous area, as you can see, but it's also got a lot of drop-offs. She was camping with her dad Friday night. She wandered away for, they don't know the reason. You and I were discussing maybe to use the restroom, maybe to, you know.
It's 10:30.
It's 10:30 at night.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then unfortunately she wasn't seen. Her dad realized it a little bit later, and then they started the search, and they've been searching ever since. We talked to her parents yesterday, and just really sad. I mean, we had that hiker, Hannah Moody, last month that unfortunately was found dead, and we're hoping for a different outcome for Janelle and her loved ones.
We had the 14-year-old last week who was missing in the Lost Dog Trail in Scottsdale. Thankfully, he was found. Dave, do we have the sound bite? We're going to, you talk to Dad. We're going to go ahead and roll that sound bite really quick. Go ahead, guys. Let's take a
This is a beautiful area. That's why we were enjoying camping with Janelle. We were having an amazing time for the last 2 days before this happened, and she was extremely happy, and so I was, and then But at the same time, this is a very dangerous place that everybody should know that to take every precaution to when they come here to visit. So the cliff, the canyon is extremely dangerous.
So do we know, Nicole, have they been hiking in that area or camping in that area before?
So Mom told us yesterday that she likes the outdoors, but I didn't get the impression that they had ever been there before. She said that it wasn't like she was an avid camper or anything, but she liked to hike, and we saw some pictures of her hiking in other areas. But just so devastating, this dad, I mean, he was choked up throughout most of the interview. It was probably a Father's Day weekend type of situation. And, they just feel so helpless now.
I guess my question too is when we were chatting, and I know weather is going to play a big role in this because if it's really hot, it's tough, but it's also the terrain dangerous for the campers, dangerous for search and rescue teams.
Yes, and that's another thing. This is complicated by the fact that, as you said, the terrain is really it's rocky, it's steep, and the family was actually asking yesterday on social media for people who know how to rappel and people like that. They're reaching that part of the search where they want people who might be able to scale that area, because I think there's definitely been some search and rescue, Coconino County taking the lead on that. But what can you do in a situation like that that doesn't then risk someone else potentially getting hurt? And it's hard to say. We don't know at this point if she got too close to the edge or if she got lost, or hopefully she just wandered off and she's self-sufficient and is going to turn out okay. But I think that it speaks to a larger discussion about just between the heat, which up there a little less hot, but still pretty hot.
It was in the Grand Canyon area?
It was between Sedona and Flagstaff. So
it's
kind of hard to say.
It depends on where exactly, because even the Grand Canyon's under an extreme heat warning right now as you go below 4,000 feet because of how warm it's going to be. So
it's a tough
situation. And we live in a state that's so beautiful. You want people to be able to go out, enjoy the outdoors, but we hear these stories so often, and it's sad for us too, because we want to keep telling people to be safe. But I mean, I like to hike.
We have to know the dangers. Another very, very sad story. Apache Junction police officer, Officer Facio, lost his life in the line of duty. His funeral is today. So as we toss in a break, we're going to go ahead and take a look at that and see how he is being honored, not just by family, friends, and colleagues, but really the entire community. So we'll be back in a couple of minutes, guys. Girls, that's what we're gonna do all week. right, welcome back in, everyone. It is Monday. We have had such a busy news day. We were just looking in on the funeral of Officer Facio, Apache Junction Police Department. It's really incredible to see the outpouring of support. Also talking about the monsoon, and we had a question for you, Crystal, earlier as to
the most we've seen in a monsoon season.
Okay.
I believe was the question,
Yes.
if I understood correctly.
Okay.
So I did not know it off the top of my head, and I didn't want to get the number wrong, so I looked it up because the National Weather Service is so good with all the different monsoon data. So I looked up 1984, 9.56 inches at Phoenix Sky Harbor.
Wow.
9.5
and
inches.
last year we had an inch.
Oh my God.
An inch.
I think it was under an inch.
Wow.
Yeah.
What are we thinking this year?
I'm trying to look. Yeah, last year we had 0.74, so 3/4 of an inch last year. And then I also looked at the average because somebody asked. I said I thought it was a little over 2.25. 2.43 inches is the average for us. Which is
I'm
almost
hoping for
half of our
5 this
annual.
year. Let's hope for 5 this year.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
My forecast, we just aired our monsoon special this past weekend. I had I don't do numbers because that's too, there's no way you're going to get that right. But near or above average is where we're leaning. So keep your fingers crossed.
Keeping
for some
our
above
fingers
average.
crossed.
But I always say keep your fingers crossed above average, but minimal damage. Because
Yes, I was going to say,
monsoon storms
no,
can
we
be
don't want
nasty.
any destruction
Yeah.
or anything like that.
Lots of rain, not lots of damage. Yep.
Okay, if everyone at home wants to get onto Instagram or TikTok, we want you to go check out Taste of AZ. This is Jen.
Hello.
Hi. You have over 100,000 followers.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
It is crazy. How'd you get started?
Yeah, so many years ago, I was in culinary school. I even went and worked in kitchens at Disneyland. And I loved the food scene, except I didn't want to do the same thing every day.
Yeah.
Like, I was cutting the same vegetables every day, and I just got so bored of that. And so when I came back from Disney, I went into sports journalism at ASU Cronkite.
Yes.
And I met somebody who worked for the Arizona Cardinals, and so he got me a job there when I was in my junior year of college, and I was there for 5 years. And then, fast forward to 2020, COVID happened, and we all got pulled into a room on Friday the 13th and got told to go home. And so that's when I went back into food and just started posting restaurants that were struggling during COVID. And it was mostly takeout at the time because nobody was dining out, but my page just blew up. And that was at the, I think, start of when people were getting into social media and TikTok and the influencer life.
You mentioned COVID, and I think that that is so important because one of the things I focused on when I was out in the field is trying to help those businesses stay afloat. And every time we went live at a restaurant, every time we talked about come get your meal to go, keep supporting, people supported.
Yeah.
And it was really incredible to see that outpouring.
Yes. And I feel like it's kind of shifted a little bit now. I feel like there's not as many people going out and trying new places, which is kind of sad. But back then it was like a big boom and everybody was wanting to help support these businesses.
Crystal, I know you're in the food scene. You're always coming in saying, I tried this place, I tried that place.
Pre-baby, I felt like my husband and I were always trying to go out and visit new spots. So I have to ask, like, what's your best bite in the Valley?
Oh, here we go. We're talking
okay,
right
fine.
in.
Give us like a couple best bites. I need a list. Yeah.
Okay, so one of my top restaurants is Humble Bistro.
Oh, yeah.
There's one on High Street up in North Scottsdale, and then one down in Gilbert now. And their mushroom pasta is one of the best things I've ever eaten in my life.
Love that.
Homemade pasta. It's delicious.
Anyone at home is watching, and if you have any questions, if you need recommendations, Jen will give those to you. When you go into a restaurant, you like the pasta. Would you normally order pasta, or are you trying and ordering things that you would never try?
That's a good question. I'm not a big pasta person, so it's funny that that's one of my favorite bites. I think what's cool about what I do is that usually when I go to places, they'll bring out a whole bunch of stuff for me to try. And it'll be things that like I would never order usually, like octopus, or I'm not big on seafood, but like I will try it.
Okay, here's my other question then. You say they bring out. Do they know who you are? Do they know you're coming? Are they prepared? Or do you just kind of pop in and you just start ordering?
So usually I will coordinate with a restaurant if I'm going in, and then that's when they'll bring out dishes and stuff. But if I go on my own, I just order usually what I want to get versus being surprised what's going to come out next. So yeah, it's been a fun journey.
We have a little video we're going to share. And is this it? Is this the video you sent in?
It's just in between.
This is in between. There we go. No? Do you
That's
guys,
me.
can you guys help us out with the, there we go. No, yes? Yeah? Yeah. Okay. Talk a little bit about what we're seeing.
Yeah, so it's kind of just my journey from sports to getting laid off, and the opportunities that I've got just from doing this food page. I've met a ton of Food Network chefs that I never thought I would ever meet in my life.
Obsessed. That's so cool.
Yeah, it's been so
I'm like a little bit of a
awesome.
fangirl when it comes to the Food Network
Me
chefs.
too.
Very neat.
I love them. And they've actually been very nice. And then also just the people that I've met along this journey, the restaurant owners, my friends that I've made doing influencing. And it's just been a really cool experience.
How long did it take you to get to where you are, to this level of followers and success? Because it's not easy. You are your own boss. You have to run everything. You have to set everything up.
Yeah.
And you have to be the one who's working and pushing every single day.
Yeah, so it's been 5 years now since COVID happened. And at first I was going to 2 or 3 restaurants a day, which is gross. Too much food.
That's right, just a bite, just a bite.
It's so hard to balance that out. And I would say it was very fast at first. It was like 10,000 followers overnight on TikTok.
Oh my goodness. Did you have like one viral video that made that happen?
The first one was a Mexican ice cream shop out in, I want to say Glendale, and I think they're closed now, but I just put like something little together and it blew up. And
cool.
Just from that, it kept snowballing. And now 5 years later, I just hit 100,000, I think a couple months ago, and that was a big
I think
thing.
104,000 because
Now,
I checked
yeah.
this
Checked
morning.
this morning.
We have
Who's counting?
Hey, every number counts, right? Linda is asking, we live in rural Arizona, but our chef's son lives in Mesa, loves to try new places to eat. If you are in rural area, I mean, but Queen Creek used to be considered rural, and now look at it.
Yeah.
I mean, do you have up and coming spots where you head out to that you would recommend people make the drive and go check it out?
Ooh. Yeah, so I actually run social media on the side for restaurants in town.
Oh, cool.
And so one of my clients, he owns Old County Inn up in Pine, Arizona. So yeah, it's like an
Is
hour
that
and a
supposed
half.
to be like one of the best pizza spots, right? Like in the
Yeah.
state, I think. Yeah, I've seen
Really?
I've seen it
Yeah.
on a bunch of lists. I'm like, if I'm ever
Look
driving
at
out
you.
that way,
Yeah, it's
What
worth
is
the
so
drive.
good about their pizza?
It's just a good, like, little small town wood fire pizza. He started from nothing. It was just land. And then he just opened a smash burger place up there too. So I would say that's the newest thing to go try.
nice.
What's a smash burger?
It's just where they like push it down
okay.
real
Just
thin.
in case.
Yeah.
How do you pick places?
So I used to, when I was like not working and it was just me doing this full time, I would sit on Yelp for like hours and just like look through all throughout town. I never went anywhere really in Arizona since I was always working or doing something. And so when COVID happened, I was driving to Page, Arizona, Tucson. I like finally saw Tombstone for the first time, went to Bisbee. So I just scrolled through Yelp and found places, looked on Instagram, and found a ton of
Found the
things.
good
Speaking of
spots.
Instagram, Linda's saying, remind me again of your Instagram and Facebook page. How do people find you?
Yeah, so it's Tastes of AZ. There's an S after taste. A lot of people forget
Yeah.
that. But it's on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, all the things.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Oh man, I'm like so jealous that you. So now, how often are you going out to restaurants? Is it a daily thing?
No,
No,
definitely not. It's so hard too to like balance like not gaining weight and doing this at the same
Girl,
time.
I get that.
Yeah. So
There used to be a big show on Man Eats World. Is that what it was called?
Man vs. Food?
Man versus
Is it that
Food.
one?
But the host, they actually had to get a new host, and he needed to take a little bit of a break.
Because it was so much food.
It was like a competitive eating type of. He would go through different places and then eat like the biggest burger to see if he could win the T-shirt or something like that. And it was like he needed to step back. And how
It's
do you
hard.
pace yourself?
I mean, back then I was, like I said, going to 2 or 3 places a day. Now I would say it's a couple a week.
Okay.
It's also a lot because you're around people all the time. So it's like you got to find that balance of like being by yourself and then being around people. But you do get like 7 dishes on your table. And so you get to bring somebody with you to help you eat. But at the same time, I leave with like to-go boxes for days. And
Do you? Who do you take with you? Friends, family, whoever?
Yeah.
Whoever gets in the way.
Yeah.
Do you listen to their opinion?
I do.
Or do you just pretty much go off your palate?
So when are we coming with?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's where I'm going
I
next,
always
Crystal.
need
That's where I'm going
somebody.
next.
No, I definitely listen to their opinions too because mine's so subjective. Like I could think something, and like when I bring my aunt, she loves certain things, and then I'll try it, and I'm like, it's not my favorite, but I like this thing, and that she does not like. So it's kind of cool to see both opinions and play into that.
What's some of the craziest things you've eaten? What are
Oh
some?
my gosh. I always tell the story about I went to a taco stand on the side of the road.
Just
out here.
random.
Yeah. Those are my favorite places.
You just decided to stop.
Yeah. They were going viral too. So it wasn't like I was just going to somewhere in the middle of the boonies. But they do the whole slice of like a cow tongue. It's called lengua.
Tongue, wasn't it? I knew it
And
was
I love
coming.
like shredded lengua, like the cow tongue.
Do you?
Yeah, it's good. But if it's served like where it's the whole slice of it, it's a little too wild for me. Like I can't
So you
do
went
it.
wild and crazy?
I did try
it?
a bite, but that's the thing about me. I will always try
Give
a
it a
bite
bite.
of it and
Okay.
try it, and then I might just not take a second.
The food scene here in Arizona in the past couple of years has grown so much. We have some really fantastic restaurants. You were talking about chefs, some amazing chefs. Why do you think that is? Why have we really been put on the map?
I think during COVID, a lot of people came from other states. And I don't know if that's what brought in a lot of new talent and chefs, or just the fact too that during COVID, a lot of these chefs were pushed out of places where they worked and were working for somebody else. And they then had that opportunity to showcase themselves and become their own person. And so I think that's what really brought the boom. And there's so many great chefs now.
Do you ever eat?
Oh, no, go ahead.
I just want to know, do you ever eat at the same place twice?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Definitely.
I was like, I wonder
You
if
have
ever
favorites
can.
that you go back to.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Would you ever open up your own place?
I've thought about it, but seeing the struggles from all my other friends and chefs, is it worth that risk?
How harsh of a critic are you?
I would say I am one of the nicer ones. Like I always try to say what is good about a place or what I did like and try to steer away from the negative stuff.
But you're honest.
I am. Like I'll say I wouldn't order that again but I wouldn't like tear down the business or anything like that. So
That's a tough job. That's
is
a tough
hard.
job having to be honest like that.
I think anything on social media is a tough job.
Oh, putting yourself out there.
Yeah,
It's hard.
exactly.
How do people find you one more time? We've got like 20 seconds left. You're such a pleasure to have on. Thank you.
Yeah, on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Tastes of AZ, the S after taste.
Okay.
And that's where I am.
We'll tag you on our pages too.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Next time, we're your
You
guests.
got way bigger following
We're
than
your
us,
guests
though,
next
actually.
time. All right, everyone. Thanks for